those who had survived the tidal wave, many of them were burned. And this was a terrible thing. You know, people tried to escape when the shocks came. They all went into the big churches that they have. They were embracing the statues. They were decorating themselves with crucifixes. They were looking at their clergy. The worst thing they could have done is gone to those churches because they crumbled. So many people died in those buildings. There are plenty of eyewitnesses who have recorded the specific details that I'm giving you now. The Lisbon earthquake, folks, was one of the worst, if not the very worst. There has not been one like it since. And so 1755 fits within the prediction as it is given there in the 6 seals. Now, after the earthquake, we have what? The sun became as black as sackcloth. And that must be a daytime event because the sun is only there during the day. Was there such an event? And yes, there was an event like that succeeded that massive earthquake. Look at this. It's called the Dark Day. Over the continent of America, over the continent of Northern America, the sun came up like any other day. It was a bright, beautiful day till about 9 o'clock. And then the dark cloud set in. There was even thunder and lightning. And then the darkness disappeared for a moment and the sun turned as if it was made out of brass, giving the whole landscape a very eerie, what shall I say, atmosphere. And then the darkness set in. And the darkness covered the sun. And the day turned into night. The animals went back to their sleeping patterns. Only the people knew it should be daylight. But it wasn't. It was dark. And this phenomenon here, have a look at this, was on the 19th of May, 1780. Now, do you remember when the persecutions would cease? In the early 70s. This one comes after the persecution, straight after. Everybody clear on that? Yes. So this one comes straight after. Why would this happen? By the way, there has not been a scientific explanation how this ever could happen. Nobody has ever been able to explain the dark day there on the 19th of May, 1780. Nothing to do with eclipses. Nothing. It was a full moon. And so it cannot be explained, but what is remarkable, what is very remarkable, that on the island of Patmos, the seer of Patmos, that disciple, that apostle of Jesus, now a prophet, predicts in 96 AD what would happen in 1755, what would happen in 1780. Also, that the earthquake would be during the persecution. And as we will see, there is another prediction in the Bible that puts it straight after the persecution. But in the correct order. Everybody clear so far? This one is not terribly hard to follow. That night, that same night, which is supposed to be a full moon, first the moon didn't show. It was so dark, the papers described it as the Egyptian darkness. An Egyptian darkness. It was so dark. But then after midnight, that full moon appeared. But it was not like normal. It was colored absolutely red, like blood. Exactly as the seer of Patmos had predicted. And so we have the right consecutive order. We have an earthquake first. Then we have a day turning into night. And then we have a moon not giving its light, and when it came and appeared, it was as red as blood. Fascinating, isn't it? Now, what is the next article that we are looking for? An occurrence in the physical world. Remember it? Anybody? Or were you sleeping? Oh, the falling stars. Did that happen? Oh, yes, it did. Again, over the continent of Northern America. And I believe it was not by coincidence that it found place there. In 1833, on the night of the 13th to the 14th of November, there was the greatest shower of meteorites ever observed or ever recorded. It is estimated that in the early morning hours, when it was still pitch dark, 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, it started. About 200,000 meteorites at the one given time for about 3 to 4 hours. It was an incredible sight. Now, it's such a shame that, nobody took a photograph. Of course, that wasn't known to the society as yet. But there are some, there are some pictures, there are certainly some sketches of those who observed it. I can tell you, when that found place and people looked at that and they woke each other up because they believed it was the end of the world. You should have been there. People were kneeling in the middle of the street. There wasn't an atheist inside. Remarkable, isn't it? When things like that happen, God seems to become more real. Well, at least a possibility. And so this phenomenal sight, as it found place, had a very important impact. It had an impact on a revival that found place. Only just started. In 1833, a man by the name of William Miller received his preaching credentials from the Baptist Church. And he taught a message of the soon return of Jesus. And he worked out the very year according to the timetables, the time prophecies of the book of Daniel. And whilst his calculation was correct, we know that the event that he predicted was not. However, during that time there was a tremendous revival. People started to be serious about God. Till so far, all what they have been worried about is earning money, lots of it, accumulate as much as possible wealth. And God had to take a back seat, but this phenomenon certainly woke them up. This occurrence is well recorded. You can go to the libraries of the world, search the local papers there of Northern America, and you'll find it well and truly recorded. In the right order, the earthquake, the sun being darkened, the moon blood red, and then the falling of the stars. These are 4 of the 5 phenomena that we talked about, that John the Revelator mentioned. Yeah? All right. Now let's have a look here. Jesus, in the 24th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, and you'll find the same story recorded in the Gospel of Luke, of course, and Mark, he said something which is very remarkable. He said, as he sat there that late Tuesday evening or afternoon, early evening, he had a few of his disciples there, and they were asking him when the end of the world would be. It's remarkable, of all the things that Jesus said, and of all the things that John painted as a reality that would be so observable, that neither of them ever mentioned global warming. No, I'm just saying. People say, don't you worry about it? No, I don't. I don't worry about global warming. Not one bit. You have nothing to worry about global warming. Now, if it were to find place, and we are asking for it by way of our conduct and the way we burn these gases at the enormous proportions that we do, and I know we do. And if